I can't imagine even wanting, or yeah, even having the thought to be like, I'm gonna do it alone. My first shot, wanting to do it alone. No. So through the whole process, just when I have questions and coming back to you, shooting an email, it's been nice, and then reassuring too when I have questions where I'm like, hey, like, well, what do you think? What do you think about this? And getting your thoughts on, well, if you want to go this route, this kind of it. If you want to go this route, this kind of it. Giving you that, it feels nice. You really do hand hold, and as a person who needed some heavy hand holding through it definitely like it worked out. And then to kind of be right now where I'm at, where I'm looking back and like think about like all those moments and what I learned through, not just choosing the house, but then also talking to, for the loan, everything. It was just like, yeah, I definitely could have not done that alone. And even right now, the management company, oh my God, they're great, communicate really fast. And I know that's one of the things that you emphasize, is not just having a team, but having a reliable and a team that you can trust.
Hey guys, Rhett here. What's going on? I am so excited to bring on my client, Marilyn. Guys, Marilyn is on the West Coast and we have been working together for a little bit, probably about a year, Marilyn. Is that about right? Probably about a year.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to have her on today because she is the epitome of out-of-state investing, first-time real estate investor who is just kicking butt and taking names. So, Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on here today.
Well, no, so I was saying thank you, Rhett. Honestly, like how I said, it's been pretty crazy. And everything that you say in your videos is like 100% true. It's one thing watching them, beforehand, when you haven't got into it and you're like listening to them and you're like, yeah, yeah, I get it. But afterhand, like you're like, oh no, I get it. Like 100% what he was saying, like true. Um, but I don't know where you want me to start. Just kind of how I thought of it, or
Yeah. So guys, I brought Marilyn on today for a bunch of reasons, but one of the main reasons is because I know there are so many people that are watching this right now that have questions. And Marilyn, I know you had questions, you had concerns. What has it been like for you to kind of dive in and just do it and trust me, trust the process? What has that been like for you?
honestly, it's been great. I mean, from our first phone call, my concerns were, again, it's out of state, so I don't get to see it. I don't get to, there's one thing kind of just being like, look, I trust you. You're my eyes, my ears. You're giving me guidance. And again, how you said, I haven't done this at all. So I don't even know where to start. I don't even know who to talk to. I don't even know what to negotiate, like nothing, zilch. So and then on top of that, I think when we had first spoke, one of the big things is also that I know you talk about in your channel is like, not just being out of state, but also like a lot of people who do get into this, they have full-time jobs. Like this isn't everything that they do. And I mean, at the time when I first spoke to you, I mean, I was working well, I'm still there at the airport, and it's 24/7. So it's it's 10-hour shifts. So part of my day it was in graveyard, and then 3 days of my day was like during the PM. So it was a lot of hopping back and forth. And then on top of that, I was like, you know what, like I just have this, money here sitting and it's not really doing anything for me. So like I started looking around, and that's when I came across your channel. And I remembered so like when I first had the idea where I was like, okay, like Section 8, like okay. And you see those videos like you talk about, people are like, hey, be careful with them Section 8. But what I liked about your videos compared to other people who make it sound like, oh yeah, like it's so easy. You just do like 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, and then 5, like and then you're set, and then you got it. what I liked about your videos were that like you were like, no, it's not one, two, three, and four, and then you're set. It's like, it's a lot harder. It's a lot, there's a lot more thought that goes into it. And it's not just like one thing that, something that you said, like you want to do it right. You don't want to just jump into it, think it's like a easy math equation where it's gonna 2 + 2 = 4. It's like, no, it's a lot more thought. It's you really have to put some time into it. And again, as a person who, was working at the time, some graveyard, some day, my day was flopping back and forth. It was kind of hard to even think that I was going to do this by myself. Especially with not knowing who to contact, where to look, what am I even looking at, So it was just like a lot. So that's when I really liked your videos because I was like, you know what? I think like out of everybody that I've been seeing, like he's keeping it very real. Like it's not going to be that easy. It might sound easy, but it's not that easy. You definitely need a team. And I think working at the airport, being 24/7 and it's like a large workforce, I definitely know, you can't do stuff without a team, So I really liked what you said in your videos and it resonated with me. So I was like, you know what? Okay, like I like him. So um that's when I started my journey with you. And like since then, honestly, no regrets. I think it's honestly the best thing that I have done because besides opening probably my investments account because this is like crazy just because I again not knowing anything at all and being able to kind of send you houses, get your opinions on them, and then getting your feedback, and then myself like based on your feedback, I get to learn too, like kind of what your comments and what you're looking at that I'm not looking at. And again, in the beginning, I was like the houses that I like now that I kind of have an idea, the houses that I was sending you were kind of crazy. I was like, I obviously you could tell I have no idea what I am doing. So I can't imagine even wanting or yeah, even having the thought to be like, I'm gonna do it alone. My first shot, wanting to do it alone. No. So through the whole process, just when I have questions and coming back to you, shooting an email, it's been nice and then reassuring too when I have questions where I'm like, hey, like, what do you think? What do you think about this? And getting your thoughts on, well, if you want to go this route, this kind of it. If you want to go this route, this kind of it. Giving you that, it feels nice. You really do hand hold. And as a person who needed some heavy hand holding through it definitely like it worked out. And then to kind of be right now where I'm at, where I'm looking back and like think about like all those moments and what I learned through, not just choosing the house, but then also talking to Jake, for the loan, everything. It was just like, yeah, I definitely could have not done that alone. And even right now, the management company, oh my God, they're great and communicate really fast. And I know that's one of the things that you emphasize is not just having a team, but having a reliable and a team that you can trust. And I definitely feel like whenever I have questions or anything, whether I reach out to you, the management company, or even Jake, they were always very fast to respond. And I never felt, worried or anything like, oh, are they going to respond? Or how long do I have to wait for a response? Or just sit with any anxiety. They were always very fast. And any questions I had, they pretty much answered them. So it's honestly been good. This is why I'm like, you know what? Let's start looking for number two because yeah, and I mean, yeah, it does give you that now that you have that like concept. There's one thing when somebody, they talk about it in a video and they give you the kind of the rundown, but then there's one thing you going through the process, and then as you're going through the process and kind of having these questions come about where it gives you a better view, a better of understanding of kind of how this works. And again, I don't think that I'm nowhere, as like great but I'm a little bit better at as far as the understanding that I was in the beginning. So
Yeah, and Marilyn, what's crazy about you and what you've done is essentially you are on the other side of the country. When we first met, you were working graveyard shifts. So not only were you 2 hours behind, but we literally had polar opposite schedules. So, and doing this whole thing, property search, the market search, the pre-approval, the financing, the walkthroughs, the
Mhm.
construction scopes, the rehab, the tenant search, everything, polar opposite schedules. And if you can do this, then anybody can with that kind of schedule. And, you know, I know when we had first talked, that was one of your biggest concerns was, well, Rhett, I don't have access to my phone for 10 hours a day. And during my work day, the people on my team, they're going to be sleeping. And then when they're working, I'm going to be sleeping. And it's not easy, but
Mhm.
we were able to facilitate it, no problem. Dealing with you, we treated you kind of like you're one of our foreign clients in
Mhm.
another country because that was kind of the time zone. And we're still able to do it. You did a phenomenal job, and really kudos to you because as much as we kind of led you down the path, you did it. I mean, you chose the house that you bought. We didn't choose it for you. You did all that legwork, and you and I talked about the properties that you were looking at, and we talked about the rehab scopes, and you know, the property you bought is so great. It's so amazing. I did a video of it. It's up on the channel, and I'll post it below so you guys can watch it now, seeing Marilyn here, and then kind of tying those two things together. But for a first property, so you bought the property a couple months ago. We did a rehab to it. The rehab was about $8,000. And we have a tenant lined up. They're moving in. When is it? I think next month, you said.
Mhm. In July.
And then talk a little bit about, so what are they paying and what does that rent look like?
So it's 1,200 and it's covered 100% by Section 8. So it's again, I that was again one of those moments where I was like, damn, because for a second there I was a little like anxious, once you go through the rehab and everything, you're like, okay, now it's time, it's for the next step. And I think that was a step that felt like a little like very real. So to finally be able to get it, I was just like, wow, like, yeah, this is it. This is it. So next month.
Next month they're moving in and everything's been lined up. You own a house on a great street in a great area. Your tenant moving in is going to be a 100% Section 8 tenant. So 100% of their rent every month that comes to you comes directly from the government. So they don't have to pay for a dime. They're going to be living in your house and the government's going to be paying you literally 100% every single month, which is amazing for you, Marilyn, because you never are going to have to worry about that now. You don't have to worry about getting the rent. And it's just amazing. Now, how many times have you seen this property in person? How many times have we walked it? How many times have you touched it? And how many times have you driven by it?
Yep, none. None. So
And
yeah,
you're about 3,000 miles away from it.
no, it's definitely how I said it. It's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, trust the process. And I think again, I just had a lot of confidence with what you had said and everything. Every step of the way, nothing really uh, although it's scary to invest out of state, I felt that the team was very reassuring through the process. Never did I feel cold feet or kind of get a feeling or anything where I was like, oh, I'm scared. Especially when you're anxious, I feel like that can come about very easy for you to get a little bit of cold feet or start, worrying overthinking it. And but your team was just very, and how you said with even with being, different time zones and everything, pretty much I'm sleeping while they're working and having all that, I still felt like the communication was really, it was very much there. And it felt very reassuring where I was like, okay. And again, this is my first time. Nothing, my parents have never invested or anything at all. They come from their country. Well, my mom's Mexican, my dad's from Nicaragua. So again, like I have no experience. They have no experience. So I don't have anybody also in like my life to kind of give me any guidance, any mentoring or anything. So this is me just doing it off your guidance and your team's guidance. So it really means a lot. It means a lot to be able to do this, especially when I don't have anybody in my family who's ever done this.
Yeah, and Marilyn, so talk to me a little bit about what were some of the concerns, like as an out-of-state investor who's never done this before, who and nobody in your family has done this before. What were some of the biggest concerns with getting started?
Um, I think it was just with getting started, it was the fact that, nobody's done this in my family, right? And so it's not just new for me, but me talking about it, it's also new for them. And also, so sometimes, I could understand if you had some family who, has done it before. You could kind of talk to them and they can, oh yeah, like I went through this experience, or I did this and I did that. I didn't have anybody. And as, like having, immigrant parents, it's, they're very much like, save every nickel and dime under the mattress, like, be careful with this, be careful with that. So I think it's like, again, they're scared and it's also new to me. So it's easily, like how I said, truly like your team was really there for all my questions because I felt with, again, my family not having that experience, them being scared and me not knowing really anything or much about it and not knowing anybody who's done it. It's like it really was just like, this is something I want to do. He has the experience, he has the team, and like, yeah, it's scary for myself and my family because again, they can't, although they want to support you, again, they're very much like, they're like, save your money, be careful, you never know when a rainy day is. Like you gotta hold it all. So it's definitely the mentality behind investing isn't there. So, yeah, it's definitely having, your team and yourself through that process. Honestly, I said, this is not something that I think that I could have ever done alone, um, at all. So it really does, it's everything.
Well, I'm just so proud of you, because it's such a hard thing. And you're in a place on the West Coast where you can't buy properties for under $100,000, and there's not opportunity. And for young people, especially in 2024, it's extremely hard to save money. And when you do, what are you gonna do with it? I mean, there's scams all over the place. You can throw
Yeah.
it in cryptocurrency and lose it overnight. You put it in the stock market, you get no idea where it's going. But you had the wherewithal to invest it in real estate, which is always going to continuing, it's going to go up. And
Mhm.
you insulated yourself with a Section 8 tenant, which means the government's going to pay rent, but you also provided an incredible place to live. You have a beautiful home. What led you of all the real estate investments out there and all the niches and all the different asset classes, what drew you to Section 8?
Um, I think honestly there were several things. One thing being, they always say if something happens, it's and you're backed by the government. They're gonna be paying a part of the rent. So I think that was a big part of it. Again, kind of with my background with them being kind of scared and me being kind of scared, you always want something that you feels more like, okay, this is stability. So definitely the stability aspect of it. And of course that would me be thinking, that would me kind of thinking ahead and oh, what if something happens, right? Because as you said, there's other things too that you could do. Like I know that we had spoke about the way that they do the Airbnb short-term rentals. But what kind of I think what really did turn it for me was the who do you get as a tenant? Like right now, who I have, or like kind of just to get her information, and she has kids and everything. Like again, my family, like they came from their countries and they came over here, and it's hard and yeah, it's not easy to raise a family, and especially when you're struggling. And again, like I have my own personal background and history with that, so I think that it's also being able to give somebody like a home was also very much like, but it was a turning point for me, honestly. Where I was like, this isn't just like about the money, but this is also like I like definitely want to help somebody out. And even now that, the property management gave me a little bit of info on her and, kind of what her situation is like, I definitely feel like, oh, like I guess there's a little bit of relating of like, okay, like I'm helping her out and her kids have a roof and it just it's it feels nice also to help somebody out.
Yeah, and Marilyn, so it's just an incredible thing you're doing as well because you're providing, not only are you locking yourself in with a great investment that's guaranteed that you're into for under $95,000, but you're also providing for somebody that doesn't have what you do, and you're giving them a chance. You're giving them pride in their home. You're giving them a chance to end a cycle of poverty. You're putting them in a safe place with their family. You now saw the tenant, right? So you know what their name is, you know they have kids, and it just makes you feel even better about what you're doing. If you could talk right now to the people who are watching this video and they are contemplating getting started in this, they are saying, I'm just they're teeter-tottering on yes or no. What would you tell them?
I think I would tell them probably what I told myself. It was this is something you're thinking about, and this is something that you're like, you know what, like I want to do, and I'm just scared because again, that was, I think, some of what I thought about is like I'm scared. I don't have anybody. I don't know anybody who's done this. I would say that you know, it's everything is scary, but that when you don't know about it or when you don't have the guidance and the support for it, but definitely, with Rhett, I would say that you don't Rhett really working with you really does give you the assurance and to do what you're kind of a little bit afraid of. And, I would definitely say, I said, if it wasn't my conversation with you when you kind of, gave me the rundown about it and me already having the interest in me, and like, you know what, just based off what you said and everything, off your videos and even our one-on-one conversation, um, I was like, I'm scared, but you know what? This is ultimately something I want to do, and I don't want to regret not doing it, thinking about it, 20 years down the line and being like, I didn't do it, and something I wanted to do. And I was like, no, life's too short. And I was like, I believe what you say because of just all the videos and our conversations. I was just like, oh, no, I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
And I'm glad you did. And now there's a family also that's glad you did. And guys, please, if you have questions for Marilyn, please drop them in the comment section below. I'm sure she'll get in there and answer whatever questions you guys have. And Marilyn, again, thank you so much for coming on here today. I appreciate it so much. And I'll say thank you for everybody watching this as well for coming on here and sharing your story. And guys, stick around. We'll see you next time.